How did you decide a week and a day?
I started work with Food Network well over a decade ago, and Brooke Johnson is a great friend and mentor of mine, and she runs for the Scripps family, of course, Food Network, and she was launching Cooking Channel, and she asked me if I could come up with a new promise. It had been more than a decade since we launched 30-minute meals, so she said, what's the new promise going to be? We want to have something for Cooking Channel. So I sat down, as I do every day of my life, with my little composition books, and I just started playing around with words. 30-minute meals came about because Domino's promised to deliver a pizza in 30 minutes or less. So I thought if someone would spend 30 minutes waiting for a takeout pizza, they would spend 30 minutes making dinner. And at the time I was working as a buyer and a floor manager at a food market where everyone was a state worker, and we'd gone through 2 or 3 generations of people that didn't know how to make the most basic of dinners for themselves. So my boss and I strategized that we would move more groceries in a market where people didn't know how to cook if we crafted a cooking class series that were all based around easy dinners about the same amount of time as Domino's. Then the whole idea sort of fell apart, and the Domino's got sued by a few people. They had to stop making that promise. And we sold the classes, series of 6 of 30-minute meals, before we costed out what the chefs would want to teach them in all of the local restaurants. So my boss said to me, she just sort of scratched her head, one of my best girlfriends today, 20-something years later, she said, well, what are you gonna do? You know, everybody likes your food. Why don't you just teach the class? We know we can afford you. And I started teaching 30-minute meals to literally sell more groceries to our own customers, and they really enjoyed that. We taught a 3-hour course, and I mean my boss was my backup. She did my knees and would help me set up, and we'd have these 3-hour classes where we'd play music, and and we'd hang out and chop and cook, and it was more like a little clubhouse, It became almost like a gang, but like a friendly foodie gang. And we would teach 6 base recipes, and I had 5 things. If you learned that one discipline, if you learn how to make a cutlet, or you learn how to make this sauce or this gravy, or make a cutlet or poached chicken, you could do all these different things with that knowledge. So if you gave us 3 hours, you'd actually get 30 30-minute meals. So 30 30-minute meals became this sort of happening in town. A lot of people came in and wanted to be a part of the class, and then it became a thing on the news. Then we started to get hate mail because it wasn't in a book form or one place where anybody could get it. So that thing sort of snowballed and overtook my life in a weird way. Sort of took on a life of its own.
Well, what year is this?
God, I don't know, early 90s. I was mugged twice at gunpoint. I moved back upstate.
So this is when you're working at Cowan
LaBelle, yeah.
Okay.
Donna Cowan Carnival is her full name, but Donna's still my friend to this day. Yeah. When I moved back to the country, I started from scratch, and I had to wait a year to get a job in that market. And it was literally a series of accidents that led to 30-minute meal. So I'm sitting down to write what's going to be like the succession to that. I'm like, I have no idea because it happened by accident. So I just start doodling things that are popular, make ahead, kind of a big thing, make it today, freeze it tomorrow, vegan or vegetarian, or half the people in the house eat this way and half the people in the house eat that way. So I put all these ideas on a piece of paper, and I literally did a market study. I went to the library, and I'm like, well, how many people are into this? How many people are into that? And how much mail do I get about this? How much mail do I get about that? And I came up with Week in a Day with Rachael Ray because it rhymed with my name, and it had some good research behind it. And then I sat down to write it. It became the hardest thing I'd ever done. Trying to deliver a whole work week of food in one day, it's a big promise. Like, you have to make the pantry list realistic. You have to make the grocery list not backbreaking. How are you going to give value with this? And at the time, they wanted Cooking Channel to raise a bar and be a little bit higher than the bar that Food Network sets. Say people already like to cook and they're willing to cook, so let's make the recipes a little more appealing to home cooks that are already foodies. So I had a lot of hills to climb with it. But I like work. I enjoy the feeling of a long day's worth of work, and so it became a really great project for me.